Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone's up in front. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love, especially on game day, guys. I don't care what day of the week it is, where you are in the world, what you're doing. Game day hits differently, and we are going to be talking about Tottenham versus Burnley in the third round of the FA Cup. It's Cup game day as well. It's awesome. It's just sensational. But before we get into that, we've got to talk about some transfer news, views and clues. Nothing too sensationally interesting on the incomings, but there is some very interesting news on the outgoings we have to get through. But before we do that, I need to ask you for some favours, guys. As you know how important it is for the channel if the like button is squeezed. Will you do that for me? Will you take your index finger and drum the thumb for me? It really does help the channel. Hit the subscribe as well if you haven't already, and even if you have, double check you still are, because people keep getting unsubscribed all the time. It's very weird. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. And guys, we're going to start with let's start with the Dragusin update. So there's nothing new really there from Tottenham's perspective, apart from just an update that Tottenham actually, apparently, according to reports this morning, initially tried to organise a loan deal with Genoa for Radu Dragusin that was rejected out of hand. And subsequently, Genoa's demands for a cash injection from the purchasing club has obviously meant that everybody now has to figure out what's the right price for Radu Dragusin. And we're doing that, but so are Napoli. This is the frustrating news. I'm not worried about it, but Napoli apparently have offered cash plus a player to Napoli, to Genoa for Radu Dragusin. But according to all main reports and the reports that I like to trust, people are saying that he's already agreed personal terms with Tottenham Hotspur. Everything's good to go. It's just about figuring out the payment structure. So not a lot has changed, but hopefully we will get that one done. And as I said before, it was never going to happen in time for the cup game today, in my opinion. But it should be done. Ideally, it will be done by the time that we play Manchester United on next Sunday, in 10 days' time. The question I have for you guys, though, and this is where I do lend some support to the frustrating sort of timelines of getting deals done. If it does take its time, and if it does happen, if the deal is done, let's say on Saturday or Sunday of this week, or Monday of this week, I haven't got an issue. But if it takes until Thursday or Friday of next week, then you could envision a scenario where he's flying over on Thursday or Friday, has his medical, everything's good, paperwork is signed, he becomes a Tottenham player, the shirt is held up, then he has to get on a bus or a plane, however they get to Old Trafford these days, with a squad that he doesn't really know. He might know two players from it. He'll know Kulusevski and he'll know Rodrigo Bentancur, but he won't know the rest. So he'll have had no time to kind of gel. I was worried before. Yesterday I went on a couple of streams and said, what happens if he doesn't speak English? Apparently he does speak good English. And even the broken English might be replaced by Italian. And there's a lot of Tottenham players who do speak Italian. So not an issue with communication, but familiarity with the philosophy, with the tactics, with the speed of Premier League football. All of these things are new to him. He hasn't played in a high line. He barely plays in a back four, and it's all going to be a little bit new. So I'd love to ask you a question. I'm not suggesting this is a problem, but I'm just positing something I want your take on. Let me know in the comments. In a world where he doesn't have time to train with the squad before we play Manchester United and he has to get straight on the team bus or on the team coach, do you put him straight in and run the risk of him being exposed by a resurgent, impressive Marcus Rashford or a Garnacho down the left-hand side of Man United if he's playing on the right-hand side in front of Romero? Does it depend on who he's playing alongside? If he's playing alongside Van de Ven, are you more comfortable? Less so if it's Ben Davies. Like, does that affect your role? Are you going to look back and lean into Mickey Van de Ven and the situation we faced there, where he came in and had basically no time at all to train with Tottenham and was thrust straight in for his Premier League debut against Brentford? All of these things are considerations, and just because it works for one doesn't necessarily mean it works for the other. But I'm just curious. I don't think it's an issue at all. If we sign him on Saturday or Sunday, then I think that we will have enough time with him to be, acclimated, shall we say, into the system, have enough time to look at the tactics. But if it's a late one, if it does happen and it happens late in the week, Are you comfortable putting him straight in, or would you go with either the same team, Royale and Davies, if Van der Ven's not fully fit? And how about this for a third curveball for you? If Mickey Van der Ven is fit, but Dragusin isn't deemed relevant or ready, then what would you do with the back four then? Would you put Van der Ven out on the right-hand side of centre-back alongside Ben Davies? Would you put Ben Davies on the right, or would you put Van der Ven on the left and bring Emerson Royale in as right-sided centre-back? What would you do? What would you do? That's what I'm asking you guys. But I'll tell you one thing that might not necessarily be an option going forward, and that is Eric Dyer. Because believe it or not, guys, Football Insider, who, I'll be entirely honest, has a reputation in my mind for being a bigger ITK than they really are. Over the last 3 weeks, I've lost count of the amount of exclusives that they've put out regarding certain players going to certain places, not just for Tottenham. I can think of 3 or 4 for Tottenham, but maybe I can think of maybe 20 or 25 for other teams, exclusives that have subsequently been debunked. But according to Football Insider's exclusive, believe it or not, Eric Dyer has agreed personal terms for a sensational move to Bayern Munich, predicated on the fact that Harry Kane, who's one of Eric Dyer's best mates, has absolutely given it his seal of approval, given it his kiss of death. And that Bayern Munich are looking to bring in Eric Dyer into the Bundesliga. And that would be the kind of the transition, and it will depend on the Dragusin deal, or it may or may not depend on the Dragusin deal, but if the Dragusin deal does happen, it will become increasingly more likely that you'll see Eric Dyer leave on a free transfer this January and will move away to Germany. I mean, what's going on? Like I said, you know me, like I'm not someone who is Eric Dyer's biggest fan, but I've defended him at times because I do think he plays a bit of a scapegoat. But all being said, I don't think he's good enough for Tottenham. But if he's not good enough for Tottenham, is he good enough for Bayern Munich? Well, look, I mean, Harry Kane has gone over to Germany and proven in 4 months that the level, I think, in Germany is not there as much as people thought it was, potentially. Because Harry Kane is just absolutely destroying that league. And it begs the question whether or not the German league's base quality is that strong. And if it isn't, then maybe Eric Dyer can go over there and do a really good job and resurrect his career. And I'd support it. Good luck to him. Go get your money, go and get a winner's medal somewhere, and good luck to you. You're not necessarily needed anymore at Tottenham, so there's no reason to not wish you the best at all. But I do find it strange that Bayern Munich, of all the clubs, would be the ones that would be calling. It'd be nice to get him off the books. It would be nice to have that non-homegrown spot become free and available so that we can then look to make moves in other areas. And by the way, guys, let's get back to some of the loan situations that we've got going on, because I do think they're quite complicated. The loan problem is always the same for me. If they're players that are not desirable, there's 2 reasons why you loan players out. One of them is you want them to develop, get experience in competitive football with the hope that they come back as a better player and then they can fit into your team, or at least build the value proposition for someone else to purchase them for a decent value later on. The other is you can't find a buyer and you want space in your squad. And Eric Dyer has clearly, Tanguy Ndombele, those sorts of players have clearly been part of the latter. We can't find a buyer, they're not ready for Tottenham, we're trying to get rid of them. But right now, we're looking at the natural consequences of that mindset. It usually takes a year. You kick the can down the road for a year. You can't solve the issue now. You can't sell the player now. So you send them out on loan. Hopefully you get someone else to pay the majority of their wages, and then you'll come back to that problem a year later. This summer, we sent out a lot of our players on loan with the intention and the expectation that they would be gone for a year. It hasn't worked out that way. Serge Reguilon has come back to Tottenham, and unless he finds a new home, we'll take up a non-homegrown spot in our squad. Jed Spence has been sent back from the selling club from loan, And he will count as a homegrown, but he doesn't count as, you can't put him into the youth team, he's 23. And I don't think he has a space in our team or our squad, so we will have to find a new home for him. Dane Scarlett's been sent back from his failed loan at Ipswich. He can fit into the youth team squad because he's under 21, so that's not necessarily an issue. And to be honest, as much as it scares me to think that he could be playing for Tottenham Hotspur at the moment, he is necessary given the injuries we have to our striker options and the absentees of Sonny. If Tanguy Ndombele also has his loan terminated by Galatasaray, and that's quite a high likelihood, then we end up with the intended kicking the can down the road till next summer, where you have 3 months to figure out what to do. You have that can stop a little bit short and fall into the window in January where you only have 31 days to be able to figure out all of your actual intended incomings and outgoings. And people like Jed Spence's return, people like Serge Reguilon's return, or maybe he's different because I think there was a break clause put in for January. So maybe that was a little bit expected. But Tanguy Ndombele, unexpected. Unexpected. And so you've got 31 days to try and get through all of the difficult negotiations that happen in January anyway. And now you have to figure out, well, I've got to put aside some time to go and find new homes for players that I thought already had a home for the next 6 months. It's probably like, I don't know, if you're thinking about retirement and then suddenly your kids lose their job and have to move home. Best laid plans, right? You know? Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, sort of thing, as Mike Tyson said. I feel like some of these incoming failed loan scenarios might just be a punch in the face from Mike Tyson to some of our January intentions. If we can't find homes for these players, then how do we have room to buy new players or to loan new players into our squad? Even if we can find an exit for Eric Dyer, and we've already found one for Hugo Lloris, we've now got to allocate this time to find new homes for other players. It's a potential irritant in the water. Someone's poisoned the punch. And I'm a little bit concerned about it, guys. I'm a little bit concerned about it. What I would also say, just quickly whilst we're talking about these players, is Hugo Lloris, something a little bit annoying about the fact that he's gone to LAFC, and according to reports, he's only getting paid 350 grand a year to join Los Angeles, which apparently, according to the report, makes him the 28th most expensive goalkeeper in the MLS. The 28th. The guy he's coming to replace earns twice as much as him at LA. So what I don't get is why. Why is he so cheap? We've given them away for free and they're only paying 350 grand a week. I'm sure there's some doctors in the MLS that get paid a lot more than Hugo Lloris is going to get paid. Is it because he's earned enough money that it wasn't a big deal? And if that's the case, then why did he turn down so many offers in the summer? Because the obvious notion there was that, he didn't fancy giving up his 100 grand a week. And he was kind of leveraging Tottenham's contract situation and not caring about how much of an impact that's having on Tottenham's plans in the summer to get a new centre-back in, to get a new whatever in. Our squad was chock-a-block. He didn't care about us then, and you thought, that's probably just down to money, right? He wants to maintain his money and it's his title, so why not? He's entitled to it, so why not? But then you find out that he's getting paid less than, like I say, the team doctors at some of these clubs. I don't know. Very strange. All very interesting, all very strange. So Eric Dyer might be on his way. I doubt it, but let's find out. Jed Spence is on his way back. Tanguy Ndombele might be on his way back. Serge Reguilon's on his way back. It's a nightmare, guys. Well, it's not a nightmare. It's just another bump in the road that is being a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Let me know your thoughts. Am I making sense? Is the kicking the can down the road philosophy with regards our loan behaviour over the years once again coming back to bite us? And in this precious 31 days, are they unnecessary distractions from what otherwise should have been some pre-organised deals and put us on the right path towards success this year? Ooh, squeeze in. Like, subscribe and comment, guys. And as always, I'll see you tonight for the watch along. Bye-bye.